If you're going to have a successful customer experience function, you're going to need to really focus on automations. In the olden days, like even a few years ago, it would be like you had to wait for your customer to tell you that something was wrong or that they were going to churn. Versus now, using artificial intelligence, we can do sentiment analysis a lot better on things like support tickets and NPS surveys and things like that. Gone are the days where we're just hiring CSMs left and right. What we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years is companies really doubling down on their not just their pre-sale marketing automation, but then their post-sale customer experience automation.
Hey everybody, welcome to the AI Speedrun podcast with Alex Turkovic. He's a Senior Director of Customer Experience at Belfry. Alex, thank you so much for being here today.
Sure, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Alex, before we get started, just curious about your background, your experience, what you're doing today. Can you just share a little bit?
Oh, geez. The short version is I started my career in music, got a degree in music. Most people don't use their undergrad degrees, so, there you go. And I've spent the last 18 years in tech in a variety of different ways, kind of starting on the learning and development, customer education side of things, and slowly transitioned into professional services and customer operations and customer success and all that kind of stuff. And I've been for the last few years just really focused on digital automation, artificial intelligence in the use and its use in customer success. So it's been
Very
good.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dying to ask, what did you actually get your music degree in?
Well, I went to Berklee College of Music, and I entered as a drummer thinking I was like really a good drummer. And then I got there and I realized I was not a good drummer. And so, but I transitioned into audio engineering and music production and got a degree in audio engineering, worked in studios in Nashville for a while and did all that whole thing. So.
Was there anything from that experience you brought into like tech, customer success and experience?
I mean, it served me really well from a content production perspective, because I started in learning development and content design and those kinds of things. And so like the skills that I had acquired in terms of like editing audio and video were like super relevant today, where, it's all about delivering really kind of tight messages and using multimedia to your advantage and making sure that you're like, appeasing to your visual and your auditory learners and things like that. So it's all kind of meshed together. Plus, I like microphones.
That makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure all of these experiences now, like you shared, like comes in real handy. Okay, let's jump into the first question.
Oh, God.
AI has significantly improved our success team's ability to be proactive. And you can pick anywhere between 1 to 5. You cannot pick 3.
4.
Amazing. Tell me more. Like why 4? That's pretty cool. It's pretty high.
We use AI quite a bit just in terms of like on a personal level, being able to quickly kind of dissect a lot of information and come up with, customer communications and those kinds of things. Like, so on an individual level, especially my team is really good about using ChatGPT on a daily, hourly basis, right? But then we've also got all this tooling that allows us to create, quick summaries, and we're also using artificial intelligence now in a customer-facing way with chatbots, and all that is kind of coming together to where we can see the signals a whole lot earlier, and then also use artificial intelligence to engage with those signals.
That makes a lot of sense. I think a thing that will be really helpful for our listeners is if you can give an example of this is how we used to do before, but this is how we do it today.
Sure. I mean, in the olden days, like even a few years ago, it would be like you had to wait for your customer to tell you that something was wrong or that they were going to churn, or you kind of had to wait and get out in front of your customer and really try to extract some of those things from them. Versus now, using artificial intelligence, we can do sentiment analysis a lot better on things like support tickets and NPS surveys and things like that, where we can really easily kind of disseminate what is actually happening with an account and get to those warning signs a lot easier than we used to, where it used to be like manually looking through stuff.
So getting to that like root cause and
Mhm.
understanding if a customer is about to, they're not going to renew or they're pretty mad. Getting to those points like makes it a lot faster now with it.
Exactly. A lot easier to find those moments where you can have meaningful engagement. So far for us, it's been a phenomenal tool to help us have more meaningful engagements with our customers versus like it just doing everything for us. Like that's not not what it is.
I love it. Let's move on to the next question.
Mhm.
Which part of the success workflow is AI most helpful for?
Currently, it is very heavy on the reporting triage renewal side of things. I don't think we're there yet in terms of implementation or onboarding, just because those, at least for us, are very, very manual and human heavy things.
I think you would touch a little bit upon like the reporting piece, right? Because
Mhm,
in the last question where getting to a point about like the sentiment of customer or how they're doing, like that is pretty easy or
mhm.
easier than
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
Um, but maybe you can talk a little bit about like triage and then what what will make onboarding really easy when AI gets to the next step. I'm curious about that.
I mean, I think we're probably there with there's a few platforms out there that, can start to do that kind of thing where they'll map out your app and they'll, present like just in time workflow, like walkthroughs and things like that. And I think it kind of depends on what it is you're onboarding. Because I mean, if you're onboarding something like a Gmail or a Calendly or whatever, that's a relatively easy thing to do versus
Right.
like enterprise ERP systems or, in our case, it's like vertical SaaS for the security guard industry. And it's like payroll and employee management and timekeeping and benefits administration. Like it's super deep. So for our use case, I just don't think, we'll ever get to the point really in the where not having a human involved is going to be
Mm.
an option.
One thing that I want to call out
Mhm.
is whenever someone talks about, and we had a guest in our podcast last week as well. When they talk about or give an example of a complex app, it's always an ERP.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. I mean, it's hard. I mean, if you've ever had to support a platform that has anything to do with payroll, you know what complexities you're dealing with, and then multi-state and all that kind of stuff is just like, oh my
100%.
god.
Yeah, like a compliance nightmare and
Oh
all of
yeah,
those things.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, cool. In terms of triage, what does
Mm.
that look like today?
I mean, I'll give you a very simple example. The ability for artificial intelligence to dig through an account's communication history, meeting history, call transcripts, and in the matter of a minute or two to provide you with a really, really, really detailed account history is just insanely valuable. Because if I, for instance, if I as an executive sponsor or something like that, get called into an account, um, I don't want to waste my team's time by saying, okay, what's the history here? Or I don't want to go dig through like months and months of emails that are logged or call transcripts. I can just have AI do it. And so when I'm being called into an escalation or something like that, I can just easily get the AI summary, get in a feel for where the account's been, get a feel for where the trouble has been with the account, and then speak to that intelligently on the phone call to where, you know, I can engage with the customer's executive team and be knowledgeable about the account's history so that they don't have to repeat themselves and that kind of stuff. It's a simple use case, but it's an incredibly powerful use case. And I think on top of that, if you can then pepper it with industry insights that, artificial intelligence can create as well, like, the famous our most successful customers are doing this,
Mhm.
that kind of stuff is hugely beneficial and where artificial intelligence shines.
So you talked about like, getting those like account intelligence stuff really, really fast. So you were
Mhm.
really well informed, much faster than before. What tools are you guys using today to do that? Or like, do you have any recommendation for our listeners
Yeah.
to get to that point faster so they can have the same level of success as y'all?
We are a Vitally shop, and I love Vitally. It's great. It's still a somewhat youngish company. There's some areas where maybe Gainsight is a little bit more powerful, but also insanely more complex. Vitaly's been awesome for us, and they have a really good AI summary tool in there. But aside from that, we use Gong. In Gong is also incredibly powerful because you can
Mm,
quickly go search for certain moments in a customer's history and
wow.
and call transcripts, and you can set up filters. We have, for instance, we have Gong feeding us, Slack messages when we have a customer raving about us, like because we want to point out the good stuff too, right? So if a customer says something really great about us, Gong will automatically shoot that into a
That's
shared
amazing.
Slack channel and those kinds of things. So there's all kinds of, cool little, I mean, for those two tools, there's another 20 in the wings that can do similar things, So it's a
Right.
it's a matter of, honestly, I think looking and seeing what you have in the tech stack and what AI capabilities are already within your reach that you're not using.
Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Moving on to the next question. AI has changed what customer success skills we hire for.
Generally speaking, in terms of classical account management CSM, I would say no. So more like two. I'll say two.
Mhm.
And the reason for that is it is changing how we are hiring for operations and specifically digital CX because the hiring persona that we're looking for these days is somebody who maybe has a history in marketing automation or data analysis and those kinds of things.
I know it sounds obvious, but curious, like why, like that kind of background and why those skill sets.
Because anymore, if you're going to have a successful customer experience function or customer success function, you're going to need to really focus on automations. You're going to need to really focus on what your digital brand and your digital voice is, because gone are the days where we're just hiring CSMs left and right. Unfortunately, like we see that in the market, right? And so, I think what we've seen over the last 3 or 4 years is companies really doubling down on their, not just their pre-sale marketing automation, but then their post-sale customer experience automation.
I'm curious about then the team composition. Are
Mhm.
we talking about people who are purely with that sort of experience with like automation, like marketing, automation, or data science? Or is it like a mix of both of those types of people working together in the same team?
That's a great question. What I'm seeing more and more of, and the way things are kind of shaping up, is you typically kind of have, you have your traditional customer success teams that are focused on high value kind of enterprise accounts, or focused on accounts that have paid for customer success managers, which is also a thing. But then whether it sits on an operations team or whether you have a separate kind of digital CX team, that's up for interpretation. And there are many different kind of org structures that support that. But ultimately, you have a team that is specifically focused on the technology and the integrations and the artificial intelligence and the data layers that need to feed all of that. And those teams support both the customer success managers that are, having to prep QBRs and can maybe do that in a more efficient manner. So there's the internal customer of those teams, but then there's also the customer that is being served and maybe certain segments of the customer that's being served by that team as well. Um, so you have kind of this duality, internal and external customer.
In your podcast, you talked to a lot of customer success leaders.
Mhm.
I'm really curious to see like what happens in the next 6 months or to a year, because I think what we're seeing now is just the beginning and things are going
Yeah.
to change a lot in the
Yeah.
near future.
We're already starting to see a little bit of consolidation happening. What I mean there is like, for the last couple of years, we've had a lot of startups and a lot of kind of small use cases here and there that are being focused on by some, really innovative founders and things like that. But we're starting to see the larger platforms adopt some of those use cases and pull those in either via acquisition or building their own type of thing. And so, I think we're going to continue seeing some consolidation of, not just various like niche products, but bigger players investing more and more into this technology, which means that, folks who are really focused on artificial intelligence and operations in CX are going to have a much richer tool set because right now it's all cobbled together. Like we all have gotten really good at Zapier and
Yeah.
make.com and whatever else you want to throw at it. The tooling is going to become much, much richer.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what happens. Like you're so right. Like we have
Mhm.
been like cobbling like things up together with Zapier or Zapier like tools that just came out in the last 12 months.
Yeah, I wrote a
Um,
whole article about how like digital customer success people are like, the MacGyvers of CX because they're just duct taping, paper clipping stuff together. Um, and I also think the models are, I mean, I can't keep track of the new models anymore. They're getting to the point where, it's not so much that the skill set is going to be how to create these automations. The skill set is going to be, how do we use artificial intelligence to make this stuff for us?
I think I saw a YouTube video the other day where, like, do you know that maybe I'm completely butchering the name, but it's called like N8N.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like a
totally. Uh-huh.
it's a workflow
Mhm.
tool. Like they say it's like agents and stuff, but it's really an like a more superior automation tool.
I'm not gonna lie, like literally stumbled across somebody talking about it last night, and so in a 2 a.m. can't sleep kind of situation, I got on it and ate
That's
it, and I
funny.
started playing with it, and it is really good, actually.
And you can talk to Claude or ChatGPT to come up with like basically write the template for you. So it's just a copy paste thing,
It
and you just have an entirely automated uh, like
it's
piece of your
nutty.
workflow just replaced by an AI.
It's kinda nutty, and, I think there are people who are really on the forefront of this thing that are, you know, it I kinda envy those people because this is the right combination of, like, creativity with just technical know-how,
Yeah.
and, those people are killing it.
Yeah. I love watching their stuff.
Mhm,
Um, moving on to the next question, the last one. I know we already talked about Gong. We talked about other tools,
mhm,
but any other favorite AI like tools that you personally use or like people you see in your team use a lot?
mhm.
Anything that we didn't talk about?
A lot of people flock to ChatGPT. I personally love using Perplexity, for as a Google replacement, really, just because it is so much more kind of connected to the internet. So a lot of times I'll use Perplexity. I use Perplexity a lot for account research, and when I really want to know what market conditions exist for certain customers and things like that, can be really useful. One tool that we have been playing with, and I'll call it a tool category because there are several tools that do this, but essentially tools that can plug into both your knowledge base, but then also your support tickets and make suggestions for content that's either missing or content that needs to be updated in your knowledge base, making the knowledge manager's life incredibly easy because it used to be the case where you had to like routinely go through, read all your articles
Talk to the support team, see what they're hearing about, make sure you fill those
and
gaps.
make sure the product updates are being updated throughout it's like it's a whole thing, right? And artificial intelligence through a couple of different tools that are out there are making that easier and making those suggestions and also writing that content for you. So um scaling a knowledge base, if you're in kind of the early days, scaling a knowledge base past 100 articles into 2 or 300 articles is now becoming a lot easier than it used to be.
Is there any like particular name of a tool that you want to call
Sure.
out?
Ariglad is one that is it's kind of a startup, but we started using it 6 months ago. It's Ariglad. That was a really good experience. We since have bought a different tool that's actually our customer facing chat bot that also does ticket analysis and things like that called
Nice.
Maven AGI that we're using, and that does a similar thing, making suggestions of missing content.
Very cool.
Mhm.
Um, Alex, thank you so much for like being here on the AI Speedrun podcast. How can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, thanks for having me. LinkedIn, obviously, and then the Digital CX podcast. You can find it at digitalcustomersuccess.com.
Great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.